In 2017, a comedian found a weird enamel pin on eBay. It showed a small, fuzzy creature with horns, a pig-like nose, and yellow eyes, like a mascot from a forgotten Saturday morning cartoon. The pin had one word stamped on it: Geedis. There was only one problem. Nobody could find where Geedis came from. No TV show, no comic, no toy line. Nothing. And the more people searched, the stranger it got, because the pin clearly looked like it belonged to something bigger, something with lore and characters and a world behind it. But the internet couldn't find the world. It couldn't even find the first breadcrumb. Just the name, and a creature that seems to have slipped through a crack in time. Welcome to Last Seen Online. This is a storytelling channel exploring true stories from the stranger corners of the internet, where mysteries sometimes end in silence, and sometimes end in a door opening. Today's story is of how thousands of people united to solve a mystery about a character that seems to exist without a source. This is Geedis. Let's follow the trail. Geedis didn't start as a full-blown mystery. It started as a single object, an enamel pin discovered online, odd enough to be funny, but polished enough to feel official. The original search effort gained momentum after the pin surfaced publicly, and people began asking the most basic question: what franchise is this from? Because if you've grown up around pop culture, you learn an instinct. When you see a mascot-like character rendered cleanly on merchandise, you assume there's a bigger ecosystem behind it. You assume there's a show, a book, a game, or at least a company. But with Geedis, every search returned the same result. The internet had nothing reliable. Geedis appeared to be a character with no origin story, which is the kind of contradiction that turns casual curiosity into obsession. Eventually, the internet caught its first real clue: a vintage sticker sheet scanned online featuring Geedis and a set of other fantasy characters. The sheet had a title: The Land of Ta. It was printed by Denison, a well-known sticker company, and it dated back to the early 1980s. That should have solved everything. If Geedis came from a sticker sheet, the mystery should have been simple. It was a sticker character. End of story. Except it made the mystery bigger, because the Land of Ta looked like it belonged to a full franchise: multiple characters, distinct names, and an implied world. People assumed there must be a cartoon, a comic, a tabletop game, something. But again, no evidence. No media tie-in. No products besides the stickers. The character wasn't lost inside a franchise. The character seems to exist instead of a franchise. This is where the internet does what it does best. A subreddit formed. People began organizing information like a detective board: screenshots, scans, dates, and hypotheses. They looked up Denison's product catalogs and tried to trace the sticker sheet numbers. They examined printing marks. They tried to find other Land of Ta characters, and then tried to find those characters in any other context. They built timelines, contacted collectors, and combed through image archives. It wasn't chaos, it was crowdsourced research. And as weeks turned into months, the most unsettling theory started to take shape. Maybe there was never a franchise. Maybe the Land of Ta was created as a standalone sticker concept, a fantasy world that existed only long enough to be printed and sold, then quietly forgotten. But that still didn't explain the pins. If Denison made stickers, why were there enamel pins at all? That question stayed like a splinter. Denison's history mattered because the company had a long catalog of sticker art that often wasn't credited the way modern art would be. Decades later, Denison had become part of Avery Dennison through corporate changes, and even insiders couldn't immediately point to a neat Geedis file in a database. What the community needed wasn't just a scan, it was attribution. Who drew these characters? Who invented their names? And was the land of Ta meant to be something more? The mystery shifted from "what is this from" to "who made this?" That's an important pivot, because even if the land of Ta never had a show, it had a creator. Somewhere, there was a human hand behind Geedis, and a human reason for why the character existed at all. In 2019, reporting on the mystery finally brought the story into focus. The podcast Endless Thread worked the case with the same energy as the online community, but with one advantage: they could make phone calls, chase archives, and interview people connected to the sticker world. Their investigation led to the identification of the artist behind the Land of Ta, Sam Petrucci, an American illustrator and designer with a long career that included uncredited commercial art and packaging work. Petrucci had created artwork for Denison sticker sheets, and the Land of Ta was among them. This was the missing piece. Geedis wasn't a forgotten cartoon character. Geedis was a sticker world creature created by an artist doing commercial illustration in the early 1980s, never meant to be a franchise, just meant to be fun. And suddenly, the whole mystery changed shape. Instead of a vanished TV show, it became a story about how much culture gets created, sold briefly, and then evaporates. Not because it's hidden, but because nobody thought to preserve it. Once you accept that Land of Ta was a sticker world, everything clicks. The characters are vivid because sticker sheets need characters that feel like they belong somewhere. They need implied lore. They need names you can imagine in a story. But implied lore is not the same as an actual franchise. The Land of Ta was a world that existed as a spark in the mind of an illustrator and a product team. A tiny fantasy setting that lived on paper for a brief moment, then disappeared into desk drawers, warehouses, and childhood junk drawers. The odd twist is that it took the internet decades later to treat that spark like it deserved a proper investigation. That's why this story feels so good. It's not just mystery solved, it's mystery solved by people who refused to let a small piece of weird joy vanish. And yet, there's still a lingering question that kept Geedis from becoming too neat. The stickers were real, the artist was identified, but the enamel pins remained odd. Atlas Obscura noted this early. Denison pins weren't an obvious product line, and enamel pins weren't as casually produced in the early 1980s as they are now. That doesn't prove anything suspicious, but it does keep the story interesting. Were the pins promotional items? Were they produced later by someone who loved the character? Were they a small run from a third party? The truth is, the internet can solve a lot, but not everything leaves a paper trail. Some objects survive without their receipts, and sometimes that last unanswered question is what keeps the story from feeling like a trivia fact and instead makes it feel like a living mystery with a solved core and a soft edge of unknown. Geedis is the opposite of most internet mysteries. Nobody got hurt. No one was hunted. No crime needed explaining. It was just a strange character that looked like it came from somewhere, and a community that refused to accept somewhere as an unsolved blank. The internet didn't just find a name. It found an artist's footprint inside a forgotten corner of commercial illustration. It's a reminder that the web isn't only a place where things disappear, it's also a place where people can recover what would otherwise be lost to time. Not because it's valuable in dollars, but because it's valuable in meaning. Sometimes the mystery isn't who did this. Sometimes the mystery is, why did we forget? And Geedis, this tiny horned creature stamped onto a sticker sheet in 1981, became proof that even the smallest artifacts can find their way back into the light. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, then please give it a like And don't forget to subscribe for more true stories from the mysterious corners of the internet.